What is up, guys? This is Jared Spalding here, and today I just wanted to make a video talking about, a very, very important topic, of course, to, over 300 million people, and that is, will the U.S. economy collapse soon? So, I did do a couple other economic collapse videos, so you're going to check those out, how to prepare for an economic collapse, as well as how silver will get you through an economic collapse, which is why, of course, I have silver for the background, like normal, but yeah, that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Is the U.S. economy going to collapse soon? So, if you look at other great empires, like the United States, which I would certainly call one just because of how powerful it is, how much global influence the country has. A lot of other empires have fallen due to what the U.S. has done. We turned their currency into a fiat currency by taking our money off the gold standard, and now we have nothing really backing it up other than the premise that the government tells us that it's worth $20, or $20 bills worth $20, so we just have to kind of follow it. It's like, oh, well, we say it's worth this much, so it's worth this much. So, and really there's no real value behind it because there's nothing representing it. Like, a $20 bill is not made with $20 worth of cotton, okay? So, if you look at it in that sense, what is making our currency valuable? Well, the answer to that, sadly, is really nothing. Well, maybe not necessarily nothing. I guess you could call it supply and demand with currency, or fiat currency is the same type of way as anything else, runs on supply and demand. And the fact that the more we put into circulation, of course, the less valuable the money becomes. And the money holds value in the sense that, it is worth something to us as a United States citizen to get a $20 bill, or whatever it might be, because that currency, or in this case, fiat currency, represents a, I guess you could say, like a service, product, or whatever it would be. It represents value, but in the end, if you really think about it, there's no precious metals behind it. Like, none of this silver right here would be used to represent the currency, so really there's nothing representing it beyond the premise that the government tells us money is valuable. And that's when, the whole economic collapse thing comes in. If you let's look at Greece, okay? And be more specific, let's look at Athens. They were very bustling, very bustling power, like basically a world power at the time. One of the centers of innovation of the world, had all these amazing ideas, great philosophers. Everything was going really well. Money was holding a lot of value, and then Athens, once they were having a lot of wars, discovered a way to more easily pay these debts. And that was simply to lessen the value of their money in precious metals by mixing the metals in with non-valuable metals like copper. Silver and gold coins, they all of a sudden started diluting their purity with, copper and zinc and other metals like that, until the point where their currency became a fiat currency because there was no precious metals anymore representing their currency. And it got worse and worse. It started out, like half of it would be copper and half of it would be silver or gold, depending on the coin. And they would also, produce the same sized coins but put a higher face value on them. And they continued doing this to the point where, their currency really wasn't worth anything after a long time because, there was nothing holding their value. And certainly, copper is not going to be worth, whatever their face value of the currency was, like a copper coin. It's not going to be worth that much. But they needed these precious metals to pay off war debts, as well as they needed to be able to produce more money to pay off these debts, And then eventually what ended up happening was Athens fell, and, all of these amazing innovations were just lost and taken in by, another empire. So that's when, you're probably thinking, well, maybe the United States. I'm sorry about that, but the video actually just stopped recording for some reason. I don't know if I ran out of space, but I went and deleted a bunch of old videos. But anyway, what I was going to say is, you might be thinking at this point, well, the United States is different. They're a much bigger empire than Athens was. Athens might have been, the birthplace of democracy, but it was, it didn't perfect it. The United States has had hundreds of years to, perfect their economic system and, their fiat currency. And they're certainly seeming to survive right now. And, you could be right to an extent. The United States does have greater influence in the fact that, they have way more people, so therefore a lot more commerce. But at the same time, we can look at another great empire that fell. The same exact problems. Rome. And Rome was, basically the country that everyone was saying, it could never fall. At one point, basically the world motto was all the roads lead to Rome, because Rome was considered the center of everything. They're considered this huge empire that could never fall. But look at them. Within a matter of a couple centuries, they went from being on top of everything to being able to easily be taken over by, an outside tribe. And of course, currency wasn't their only problem. They had problems with dictators constantly killing each other, as well as, other problems that were external, like being attacked a lot. But this war did lead to their economic problems, where they lessened the value of their own currency to the point where there was just tin and zinc. And hey, do those metals sound familiar to any of you guys? Because they should. Look at the United States. All of our coins are made with valueless metals, basically valueless metals, and our currency, has always been printed on something valueless paper, but it was at one point represented by precious metals. So, if you wanted to redeem your currency for precious metals, you could. But now, I'll bet you, if everyone knew about how bad the economy was, and everyone tried to take their currency and redeem it for precious metals, the bank would quickly run out of them, because we're not being backed by silver and gold. So what would quickly happen is total economic collapse, where, too many people try to get currency, or try to exchange their currency for precious metals. There's not even any left, because, the money isn't backed by it anymore, and then the whole system would just fall apart. People would quickly flee the United States, commerce would just die, and honestly, this could happen any day now. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily our currency is going to our economy, is going to collapse, but fiat currencies always do fail, and honestly, as Mike Maloney put it, there's always been a great war between precious metals and, fiat currencies, and precious metals always win, because in the end, they always revalue themselves, and fiat currencies don't, because outside of the country that they're in, they're valueless. But anywhere you go with a 5-ounce silver bar, you can always guarantee that it has some value. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, but to sum it up, honestly, U.S. currency economy, again, if I could just say that right here, I think that while collapse is very possible, at the same time, only really time will tell, just because of the fact that, we're still waiting for the election process to end. So I think that a lot of it's going to depend on who becomes our president and what they decide to do with, the decision making for the country. So, anyway, I think that it could happen any day, but not necessarily it will. But I really do think that it wouldn't take long for the entire economy to just, collapse if it really wanted to. So make sure you're aware of that. But I hope you did enjoy the video. That's it for this one. Peace, love, and much respect.